We are the tribe from the north, we're brave and we're bold. Defeating our rivals never gets old. Making our way to the Big Sky Conference. Watch out, 'cause here comes the silver and gold. Whoa, whoa. This is Tubbs at the Club for the Vandals of Idaho.
Welcome back, Tribe from the North, Brave and Bold, to the official, unofficial podcast of your Idaho Vandals and the Vandals affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. Side note, already got rust out of the way. I'm your host, Brian Marceau, guys. We're back from the Tubbs Club 4-week break, joined by fellow co-host Dallas Hammer, holding it down Spokane. Dallas, how's it been having a few weeks off?
He's not here right now. He his computer blue screen.
For the love of God. Okay, well, we'll get to
that. He's back. He's back.
Okay. Dallas, you are allegedly back. Apparently there's a blue screen at your home.
Yes. For anybody that is a computer nerd, the blue screen of death is not fun. And it happened to me earlier today. Thought I had the computer back and working, and I dropped out. So when I inevitably drop out in the next 20 minutes, I apologize for the 3 people that care about the things I have to say.
Yeah, well, look, Dallas, you opened up with your computer not working. I opened up, stumbling through an intro I've read 600 times. Thank God we have a guest with us. Joined for the first time, other than producer Marten Heemstra, holding it down in Moscow. Glad to have you, Marten. Hello. We're joined for the first time by Andrew Alamy, former club pro at the University of Idaho golf course. Is that correct, Andrew?
That's right. Yeah, I just moved on a week ago, but always going to be a Vandal. I'm pumped to talk some new stuff today.
Yeah, Andrew has been a guy that we message with and talk with a decent amount. Started with football, like everything always starts with football. But Andrew is pretty big into basketball as well. One of the more knowledgeable guys that we could get on here. Also, Andrew, tell me if this is correct. Based off of your previous employment prior to moving on to your old works now in Anaconda, Montana.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Old works now in Anaconda, Montana. You may have some insight into coaching staff, departmental stuff that maybe Dallas and I don't have.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, I think there's definitely a bit of frustration around campus with the basketball team, but I mean, obviously, like the recruits that are coming in, I know we'll talk more about that, but I mean, it's definitely the elephant in the room as far as men's basketball is, what's going on.
Yes. We refer to it here as vegetables based off of beloved listener Rack of Tits referring to Rack of Tits. My bad. Again, another screw up. Beloved listener Rack of Tits 69 on Twitter, referencing that I am forcing Vandal basketball down on people just like parents force vegetables on their kids. And you know what? You're goddamn right I am. But before we get to the basketball stuff, we're going to jump right into Around the Bar, brought to us by Hughes River Expedition. We have some pretty big football news, Dallas, which I'm just going to throw it to you because this is going to be a pretty big discussion item. It's something that listeners have been waiting to hear a lot about. If you're in our Only Tubbs Discord, hashtag I'd like, again, just stumbling through stuff. Hashtag Only Tubbs, patreon.com/Tubbs at the club. Man, we need to not take breaks. Dallas, going to throw it to you. Save me from drowning. We have football news.
We do have football news. We're going to play games this year. That's the news. No, really. We might have a new quarterback joining the Vandals this year. Can
I pause? It's not might. We don't. This just hasn't been announced. It's not a might. This is going to happen.
Well, because people have a tendency to clip the things I do and say on camera, I'm going to use the word might. You can talk in severes, but I'm going to use the word might until it's official. He does have some experience with Eck. He does have injury history, which is obviously a problem we're dealing with now. But bearing the lead here, Jabore Gibbs is supposedly transferring to Moscow, Idaho. For those of you who follow the FCS religiously, you're probably aware of who Jabore Gibbs is. You can see on the screen here. Thank you, producer Marten. Jabore Gibbs played for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, when Jason Eck was the offensive coordinator there. Very interesting story out of Gibbs. As he redshirted his first year, he was named the starter. His second year as a redshirt freshman, played 6 games and got hurt, and we really haven't seen him since. So I'll kick it back to you, Brian. What do you think about the news that Jabore Gibbs is coming to Idaho? Brian, you're muted.
Man, we are rusty. I'm going to put myself on the shelf, throw it right to Andrew. Andrew, look, we had Coach Luke Schleisner on our show saying, look, Idaho is looking for experience in the quarterback room. We have a guy this is a formality waiting for the announcement at this point. Andrew, you heard that Jabore Gibbs is coming to Idaho. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting news. I think it's not a secret from the spring game and from what I've heard from people around the football staff is that, the team is rock solid outside of the quarterback position. It's definitely not because they don't have enough people to look at. So, there's not a whole lot of film on him outside of those 5-6 games. In high school, his throwing motion looks a little bit kind of Tim Tebow-ish over the top. So I'm sure that's something that's been corrected. But, he's definitely got the talent. It seems like his highs are high, and hopefully his lows can be minimized with some good coaching and all of that. But, yeah, it's definitely positive news, and the fact that he worked with Eck is only good.
Yeah, in his time at South Dakota State, again, Dallas referenced it, 2019 is when he last saw some pretty regular action, and it's been injury issues, which we'll probably circle back there. But in 2019, started first 6 games. His 6th game against North Dakota State, he threw 5 total passes, so I'm going to pretend that game didn't really exist. In 5 starts, threw for 1,000, just under 1,058 yards, so averaging right around 200 yards per game in 5 starts, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 59% completion percentage. The thing that we're going to have to find out is, of course, the fact that Gibbs is here doesn't mean he's going to automatically start. He is here to compete for a starting spot. But if the Gibbs who transferred to University of Idaho is the Gibbs of 2019, then we just had what is probably like immediately the second or third best quarterback in the Big Sky transfer to Idaho. So, one, this is nothing but a win. The coaching staff wanted to get a grad transfer in to compete for spot. Hey, they got a grad transfer from a good FCS program. It's also, look, Andrew, you said it, the quarterback room. And again, if Schleisner's on our show saying, hey, we're going to recruit another guy, like this isn't a secret. That position has to get better than what we saw in the spring. They got their guy. This is a guy who there's no reason to think he's not competing for a starting spot. This is, again, to me, nothing but a win for Idaho football. We are now hoping that the version of Jabore Gibbs we get is closer to what he was when he was healthy in 2019, because 2 knee injuries, this is not a minor deal.
Yeah, so just some backstory for everybody. So back in 2019, College Game Day went to North Dakota for North Dakota State, South Dakota State. Jabore Gibbs was the quarterback of South Dakota State when ESPN finally determined that, hey, these 2 teams are on a warpath. It's time to go down. It's time to showcase the FCS a little bit. Jabore Gibbs was the quarterback going into that game. He threw 5 passes and got hurt, and then has not been seen really since. Injured his right knee against North Dakota State. Then in the 2021 spring, because again, COVID canceled the 2020 season, come back to the 2021 spring. He got into 2 games, saw 16 snaps, and got hurt again, another knee injury. I couldn't confirm if it was the same knee. Hopefully somebody smarter than me is already in the comments telling us that. But then he missed all of last season with the same injury. So I'm always the wet blanket here, but I'm really going to be the wet blanket here. We don't know if we're going to get Gibbs from 2019. So don't freak out just yet that this is the move that's going to push Idaho into the playoffs. We don't know what he's going to look like. He has hardly played in 2.5 years. We have CJ, who, again, unfortunately, injury history. Gio apparently played better in the spring out of anybody else. And then everybody else is pretty untested. So we still have question marks. We're adding more darts into the room, which is a great thing. But I do want to temper expectations, thinking he's going to come in here and play just like 2019. I hope it happens, and I hope he proves everybody wrong. I think that might be a stretch to anticipate, at least in the first couple games where he's been off of football for 2.5 years. He's got to have some time to kind of relearn how to play when he hasn't been out there in years.
Which, Andrew, he of course has that time right now in terms of rehabbing and heading into what will be the fall camp.
Yeah, I think the flip side of that is he's had 2.5 years to hopefully learn, study, work out. Obviously, not just be 18, 19 years old anymore. That that has a factor. And I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's a 2-man competition with CJ. And if Jabari comes on as you guys are reporting, so yeah, it feels like a 2-man competition. Very similar characteristics as how they run the ball. So I think they're kind of telling us what direction they want to go, and it's just a matter of who wins that. And I mean, yeah, you can't give 6, 7, 8 guys reps. So I mean, whether it's Gio or CJ or even Jabari, someone's going to kind of be left out once the season rolls around. They start practicing, so it'll be interesting to see the first couple of practices who's getting the reps and who in their minds is the number 1, number 2, number 3, because it's not going to be hard to tell early on.
No, it's not. And just as a bracket for us, Andrew, to close out the spring, Jason X said flat out of the current roster, Giovanni McCoy is 1A right now. If the season were to start today, CJ is a little bit behind, but it's close, and it's obviously not done. We, of course, have no idea where Jabari Gibbs would be in this lineup because this is new information. But to add a little bit more context to why I think people should be stoked about this, and, look, Dallas, you're right. Asterisk has to be healthy, but Jabari Gibbs in his 5 starts, I'm not counting North Dakota State. Again, he played like 14 seconds. Did throw for 70 yards in 5 attempts against North Dakota State, but he has a pretty good output against real teams. I mean, he threw for just under 200 yards against University of Minnesota. That's a Big Ten Minnesota. Had no problem walking over Southern Utah, which, hey, a lot of teams do that. But look, again, Idaho needs to get more offensive production. That's more evidence. FCS, he has been solid. All those other FCS games are against Missouri Valley Conference teams. There's wins against Southern Illinois, Youngstown State, and Indiana State. So as far as what the guy did when healthy, it was nothing but produce at a pretty solid rate. Again, averaging right around 200 yards per game. The thing I'm going to pivot to here is, just so we're thorough, there's also a fourth quarterback that we just haven't seen anything out of yet. Ridge Dutchakall will be a freshman. If you've seen pictures of Ridge, looks like a pretty good athlete, real good size. I mean, he has a picture on Twitter post of him. He's a bit taller than Kurt Warner. So we know nothing yet about Ridge, but that guy is not out of the discussion yet. We just haven't seen him play. Closing thoughts on what this means, Dallas, as far as expectations for Idaho football. Because I guess I'm going to say, I'm like some of our comment threads. If Gibbs is the guy, and if he pans out, honestly, we may have just shored up one of the biggest question marks heading into the fall. The next biggest question mark is when we get the slew of lineman recruits that we know Eck has been going after.
That's the big one for me. I think it really isn't going to matter much who the quarterback is until the line is fixed. I know there's not a lot of depth there. I know Eck's got his hands full, kind of turning some of that stuff around. Obviously, there's a bunch of really good pieces there. I think Hallbeck's going to be really good. St. John and Floyd are obviously fantastic, but I think with those other spots, they're still just trying to figure out how it's all going to gel together. So that is a problem. But Gibbs has played 6 games in 2019. He's already redshirted, but the 2021 spring, he'll be able to get a medical redshirt for that. He played 16 snaps. He has the COVID year. He could have many, many years here at Idaho, just the way that it's kind of all worked out. This guy could be the quarterback of the future. I think we're all super high on CJ. We all think really highly of Ridge. Again, Gio has definitely shown that he can perform at this level. Maybe a little bit too young last year and had to work through some growing pains, but we have a bunch of guys in here that are really young and really good. This is just another guy. He's going to come in obviously much older than the rest of these guys, but it doesn't mean he's going to be here as a 1-year hired gun. He could be here for a while. He could be the guy. Who knows? I'm very excited about it. If I gun to my head, I'd have to say I think Jabari ends up winning this job because he does have considerably more experience, and he knows Eck. He's obviously been around Eck's offense for quite a long time, but remains to be seen. And I left Andrew just as I heard the phone go off in the background. Sorry about that, Andrew.
No, that's my fault. But I agree with you. I mean, I think obviously there's a lot of unknown going into this season, but I mean the variance is pretty large, as whether a 4-win team or an 8, 9, 10-win team. But I think this signing can at least give you some hopes and dreams of it being, a deep playoff run, Big Sky, championship contention. Didn't feel that way before this signing. 2019 Gibbs kind of makes your eyes light up on this team, like you said, if they get the line shirt up. But it's exciting news. There's no other way really to go about it. So yeah, I guess we'll know early on in the practice when it starts. But yeah, it does give you some big thoughts.
Yeah, if this pans out, look, again, this is speculation because the best information we know is exactly what Schleissner said on the show. They're going to recruit a transfer to compete, and they wanted more experience. Hey, they got it. But if this pans out, this is a big deal for Idaho. Dallas already touched on the line part. Obviously, we need that. But questions we had in the spring was, how does the offense look a bit stronger? Well, if Gibbs pans out, we just answered part of how that changes. We're going to shift now to basketball talk, but before that, have to hit the ad read while we have some listeners. Hughes River Expedition, and man, speaking of rust, man, I know I'm going to butcher this, so you're welcome, Colin Hughes, for the sponsorship. So Hughes River Expedition been sponsoring the show for quite a while, and their ad read text is not. There it is. If you're looking for a great all-inclusive week-long vacation, don't look past your backyard. Venture into the largest protected wilderness in the continental U.S., located right here in the great state of Idaho. Enjoy a multi-day trip down the Middle Fork of the Salmon, the main Salmon River No Return, Salmon River Canyons, or the Selway. And you can even check out special trips like the one to see the Perced meteor shower. Camp on pristine beaches, run amazing whitewater, hike scenic trails, spot wildlife, soak in beautiful natural hot springs, take in the history along the river, and fish some of the most remote stretches of river in the country. You just bring your clothes, let HRE handle the rest. Hughes River Expeditions has been Vandal owned and operated since 1976 and ready to take you on the vacation of a lifetime. What are you waiting for? Find out what it's like to grab a paddle, catch dinner, and ride the bull all throughout the Gem State. Call them now at 800-262-1882 or check them out at hughesriver.com. And side note, again, man, I am just stumbling through the rust. Marten, got to pull you in. You got to give a quick response to the quarterback news.
I'm excited for it. It's new and it brings more competition. There's nothing wrong with more competition in these things.
You heard it here first, guys. Competition is a good thing. That's not a joke. I mean, because Marten said exactly what our understanding is. We need new blood. This is not going to hurt the team whatsoever. We're going to shift now to basketball news because we have a lot of basketball news. I mean, we're going to jump in with the first shift, which is that University of Idaho, Johnny Hill was an assistant coach last season under Zach Kloss. Johnny Hill has left Idaho. He's an assistant coach at Montana State. Replacing Johnny Hill, we have Jeremy Harden coming over from Wenatchee Valley Community College. He was head coach over there. Wenatchee won the NWAC last year. We're going to get to other influence that Jeremy Harden has on the team, but look, I'm going to throw it to Andrew. Andrew, you've got a little bit of background with some of the coaching staff. When you heard that Johnny Hill was gone, but Jeremy Harden was coming in, Jeremy Harden with head coaching experience that some of our other guys don't have, what was your reaction?
Well, my initial reaction is, as a Vandal, is, man, we're losing guys to Montana State. That's a much better job. To me, it feels, as a Vandal, sideways at best, but I know where we are right now. But I do like a lot about Jeremy Harden. He's been doing an NCAA tournament. NWAC has so much talent. So, great offensive mind. And who knows if Isaac Jones was part of the package to get him here. But that's one guy we can talk about. I'm really excited about him. But, yeah, it's definitely interesting. The first question is why? Why are teams like Sacramento State, Eastern Washington, who play in glorified rec gems, getting better recruits than us? And, I mean, you can make up your own mind, but it is it's definitely going to be. Sorry about that. You can make up your own mind on why, but I think there's certainly a disconnect between the players, the staff, and the athletic department. With the transfer portal, we should be in the best position with this new arena to get talent, and that's not happening. So it's clearly something going on where the team is not responding to the coaching staff. So I am excited about the new recruits and the new coach, but yeah, definitely needs a spark around the men's basketball team. And, we've talked about it on Twitter and at great length, no extension, the staff stayed. So kind of where are we as far as the future of Vandal basketball? And after a $51 million arena, you'd kind of hope it'd be a priority, and it doesn't feel that way. So, yeah, I mean, overall excited about Harden. I think he's going to bring some D1 experience that we don't have a lot of, just with the staff and, great guys, high integrity guys, but they're just not seeming like they're responding to the players are responding to them. So hopefully this new group can have a spark, and Coach Harden with Isaac Jones, who's going to be a stud, can make some change. But no, I think, if they contend for a Big Sky title, I think Claus gets extended and he's the guy for a while. It's not far-fetched to imagine that, as weird as it is to say, but I do like this new group of guys.
So Harden also, this might be touchy for some Vandals, but just get over it. I think this is good news. Harden used to be director of basketball operations for Leon Rice down at Boise State. Prior to that, He's from Tucson, played 2 seasons at Pima Community College. Also at Pima Community College, he was on their team, won a regional and NJCAA regional championship, finished 7th in 2010 in the NJCAA national championships. Certainly another recruiting background that's added, as in like the junior college experience. We're going to get to the dude at least, that Harden, we know for a fact, we can reasonably say for a fact, but help bring over. But Dallas, Alex actually hit on something that I think we have to talk about if we're going to talk about Vandal basketball, which is fans are going to struggle a little bit. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Dallas. You're going to talk in a second. I think there's objectively good basketball news we have to talk about, but where we're at with the program, we still have to sell people on why you should be invested in the program, don't we?
I mean, the joke that I made the second that this news was announced was, hey, look, we found our coach for next year, because we'll fire all the staff and promote the guy at the end of the bench. So what we did last time, and it worked out so well. So I'm still a little punchy about that. And I think most people probably are. Like, I hear this news, I'm like, oh, great. This guy's going to do nothing here, because I'm shell-shocked at how poorly the basketball program has operated the last few years. When you look at the resume, I couldn't be more thrilled with a guy like Jeremy Harden. I'm hoping, in say the worst case scenario or best case scenario, depending on who you are, Klaus gets canned at the end of the year. Like Andrew said, there's no contract in place. So if he just walks and they have to replace half the staff, Harden is the kind of guy that you want around the program. The guy is hungry to be at this level. Obviously, I think that's why you take a job like this that might have been your only option to go D1. You take this kind of job on the hope and prayer that you bring something to the table that turns things around. At WVC, he was 85 and 45 the last 5 years. I mean, he knows how to win. He wins a whole lot more than the Vandals have recently.
Can I jump in real quick, too? Like 12 of those losses are COVID forfeits.
Oh, see, I didn't even realize that. So
yeah, like his record at Wenatchee is good.
So 85 and 33, even better. So we brought in a guy who knows how to win. Yes, it's at a different level. And then we're going to talk about it real quickly. We've alluded to Isaac Jones a handful of times now. We'll get into that very shortly, but I couldn't be happier about bringing Harden onto the staff. Now, if he's going to be here for more than a year, we're going to, I guess, wait and see. But I couldn't be happier with this right now.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew, you jumping in?
No, I was going to say, it seems like the kind of person that could have gotten the head coaching job if it was open.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, when Idaho State hired Ryan Looney, initially Ryan Looney brought over Jared Fay from College of Southern Idaho, which I was jealous that Jared Fay was going to Idaho State because I would have taken him in a heartbeat over Zach Kloss. Well, this is a similar dynamic. A guy who regionally successful junior college. He's done what he can at the level he's been at. This is nothing but good news. We have another head coach. By the way, to me, understanding Vandal basketball, it's mostly an order of operations question if you're in terms of getting buy-in from the team. Because everyone who's listened to the show knows exactly how we all feel about Zach Kloss. So my take here is, look, if there's a version of solid with Zach Kloss as the head coach, a couple things have to change that. I mean, look, Zach Kloss did recruit these guys, but structurally, I think we need to hope that we have a more athletic team. We need to hope that we have a team that can transcend Kloss's limitations. And we need to hope that Kloss can surround himself with guys who he's going to listen to and are going to have a positive influence on the team. Look, Jeremy Harden checks off the boxes he can in terms of adding expertise to the coaching staff.
Yeah, if comparing it to football, it sort of feels like you're turning, you hired an offensive coordinator as a head coach over a defensive coordinator. It feels like they clearly need to get a high, fast, modern, athletic offense. It's been so slow the last few years. The only games we've scored a lot of points is the ones where we've been down by a lot and we had to catch up. So I think that he'll help a lot. And I mean, not like 90, 93 points a game in the NWAC. There's a lot of good talent in the NWAC. So that's impressive. Let alone, there's 16 teams in that league. It's not easy to win a championship. A lot of good junior college players. So I think it's all good. The only thing is, you don't like Verlin, but, Verlin hired Claus. You don't like Claus, well, Claus hired Harden. So if Harden is the next guy, when does this end?
Yeah, so I'm not going to even just make the jump of Harden, the head coach. It's more like, hey, in this year's team, we now have more head coaching experience. Andrew, you brought it up. Harden's teams at Wenatchee scored quite well. Now, Idaho scored better last year than we had previously with Kloss's teams, but efficiency numbers were not fantastic. Well, again, hey, we added a guy to our staff who his teams historically have been strong offensively. This is good news. But I want to shift now into talking about the players because we have essentially a completely new class of guys due to the transfers. And I want to start this off. I'm going to throw it to Andrew because he's a guest. Of the guys we signed, who's the biggest surprise to you that they're coming to Moscow?
To me, the biggest surprise is Devontae Moffitt. I think he's definitely a lot of talent, a lot of good experience, but he's definitely a slasher. You wonder how that's going to translate to big bodies at the D1 level. I mean, a lot of his highlights, a lot of his good moves are in traffic with a body on him. He's making a fadeaway. He's going under somebody. I don't know if that's going to translate as much at the D1 level. I don't think it's a bad signing. I think he's going to have some good moments. But, I do worry about that. He's great off the dribble. He's great with the pass. So I think he's going to get some minutes. I think he's going to be in the rotation. I don't see him necessarily starting. That was a little bit surprising to me. I think some of the other grad transfers are a little bit more exciting. But, no, his good moments are good. But, I just don't know if they're going to level up to 7-footers because the guys he's going up against here in traffic, spin moving, they're 6'6" posts, 6'7" posts. So that was a little surprising to me, but hopefully it pans out.
Yeah, so Devontae Moffitt, he's a guard. By the way, he at this point to me is, if you're going to pencil someone in as the lead point guard for the team, Moffitt actually is that guy right now in terms of athleticism. Averaged 19.3 points per game in each of his seasons at Seattle Pacific University. That's Division II. Andrew did a good job of running through the tape that we have on Moffitt. He's an athlete for sure. As a run jump athlete, his shooting stats as far as like shooting from deep, that's just not where he's going to have his impact. Always a question, of course, when a D2 guy transfers up, what their impact is. I don't have much else to add right now on Moffitt other than it's another guy from around the Seattle area. Every program, if they're going to be good, they're going to have to develop their recruitment pipelines. We have a few Seattle dudes or Seattle area dudes in this class. which, I mean, we don't have to talk too much about where people are coming from, but broadly speaking, if we're starting to see pipelines, that's not bad news. Dallas, biggest surprise recruit that we've signed so far in your mind?
That's a good question. Biggest surprise recruit, honestly, and I know we were just talking about his coach. It's Isaac Jones. That is the biggest surprise to me. I am shocked he came to Idaho. I honestly thought Wazoo was the play. I thought he was going to get a bunch of minutes there. Instead, he came to Idaho, where I think he's going to be the best player on the floor, and I don't think it's going to be that close. Just looking at his stat line last year, 25.3 points a game, 13.2 rebounds a game, 1.7 blocks a game. He shot 69% from the field because most of his shots are right at the rim, but still shot nearly 70% from the field. Actually, a pretty good free throw shooter, shot 72% from the line, and played about 33 minutes a game. Like, absolute workhorse. I think the best player at that level last year. I am stunned he came to Idaho. I thought he had bigger and brighter schools, but he came to Idaho maybe to prove he can help turn this team around, which is fantastic.
I love that you said that, Dallas. One of my notes was every game I watched, he was the best player on the floor, and it was evident. I mean, 61 points against Walla Walla. Walla Walla was a 500 team in the NWAC. That wasn't a complete fluke. I mean, 26 of 35 shooting. He definitely could take over a game. I think he's a shoe-in to be a starter, and who knows how much, like I said, that hiring of Harden played into this. Clearly, he's fond of the guy who brought him a championship in the NWAC and played with him. So, like you said, I was pretty shocked he came to Idaho, but less shocked when I heard about Harden. But yeah, he's going to be pretty good.
Side note about Isaac Jones, he's only played. This was a surprise for me when I learned this. He's only played organized basketball for 3 years, which means like he put 25 points a game up at Wenatchee Valley as a pretty raw prospect. He's more of he's 6'8" post. He can face up. He's more comfortable back to the basket, but the athleticism to me is part of the excitement here of, look, he has to be able to, he looks like he has pretty good touch around the basket. Obviously, shifting to Division I is going to change from junior college, but he has all the tools of an impact post. He has all the tools of a guy who could help us defensively. Now, also, if he's only played organized ball for 3 years, that means Wenatchee Valley is the ceiling of what he's played at. So we don't know what he looks like against D1 guys, but he checks the boxes that you would want in a Big Sky post right now, as in can hurt you in multiple ways offensively. He's a good run and jump athlete. We're not going to be concerned right from this far away. We're not going to be at all concerned about when Isaac Jones is on the floor, what kind of holes there necessarily are. Whereas like with Philip Pepple last year, Pepple was a good help side defender, but offensively, he was essentially lost. That's not going to be the case with Jones.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. And so, I love that he plays 35 minutes a game. That's huge.
Yeah. So next question I've got. Well, I'm going to answer the surprise because I'm actually floored that no one else went this route. So Idaho signs Taryn Frank, 6'8", 225-pound forward from Vanderbilt University, former 4-star recruit, played at Sierra Canyon High School in Los Angeles with guys like Scottie Pippen's kid. His route to Idaho is journeyman-esque. Initially committed to TCU, Big 12 TCU. Didn't play a ton there. Then transferred to SEC Vanderbilt. Didn't play a ton there. That's how he goes from SEC Vanderbilt to Idaho. But the background on Frank, he's going to be a stretch 4 in the Big Sky. He can definitely shoot. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a strong run and jump athlete. Might not be quick enough to be playing on the 3, but the excitement I have now. Last year, Idaho couldn't play 2 posts together because we didn't have complementary pieces. But we just won over 2 recruits who can definitely play together. Taryn Frank and Isaac Jones, Andrew, they're going to be able to share the floor.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels like a more modern approach with Harden coming in with posts who can kind of do it all. He's gonna fit the mold really well. So initial thought is, well, yeah, he's gonna come here and average 14 points a game, and he'll have his 4th team in 4 years. I'm sure that was your thought as well. But yeah, it's exciting. This is the kind of signing you expect to come out of the ICCU arena. This guy has played at the big level, Power 5 conference. I don't think we would have gotten him unless we had the facilities and he would have saw it as an opportunity for him to shine a little bit. I mean, averaging 2 points a game clearly wasn't the right spot for him either at TCU or Vanderbilt. But I'm excited to see how he fits this role. But I mean, yeah, looking at this roster, it's very new, but we don't have that, traditional 7-foot big guy that we got used to. It's definitely getting more athletic, downsizing in the post. So that is what we've been wanting to see for a while, at least me. So I think it moves with the trend, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
I gotta say, I think I agree most with Andrew's statement. The 4 teams in 4 years is really what this feels like. I'm actually not that shocked that Idaho landed Terran Frank. You look at he was a former top 200 recruit. Those guys usually stick at some sort of mid-major at least, but he went from TCU to Vanderbilt, so he's playing in the Power 5 and got really not a lot of time. At TCU, he played 14 games and had 8.6 minutes a game. Vanderbilt, he did play a lot more. He played 29 games last year, but still only averaged 10 minutes a game. Like, it feels like, exactly like Andrew said, he's coming to Idaho. There's this great new arena to play in. He's going to play a ton. Like you said, Brian, he works really well with Isaac Jones. He's going to have every opportunity here that he didn't have at Vanderbilt and TCU to show off what he can do, try to go, I'm assuming, somewhere else for a 4th and final year. If maybe he'll be able to graduate early, whatever it is. I just don't get the feeling that he's here for the long haul. That feels like a quick rebound for him, which is fine. If he's going to come here and put up a great year, more power to him if he goes elsewhere. I'd love for him to be here a couple years and have 2 great seasons with the Vandals, but it did feel to me like, okay, hey, this is the rehab tour. Starts here at Idaho and then try to get back into some bigger program to finish out your career. But who knows what's going to happen?
Look, in my response to that is I'm going to indirectly quote Marten. Look, Idaho has recently been famous for its D2 pipeline, not finding gems who come play at Idaho in D2, but having guys who play at Idaho and then there's no D1 home for them because the recruiting class was terrible and then they end up playing D2. If Terran Frank is the beginning of some good players using Idaho to get to their next good school, I'm okay with that. That's a representative step up for Idaho. So you know what, if we have a couple guys who do that successfully, then we get a good year out of them. Look, the reality of transfers now is building a program isn't done the way it once was. Now there is the template teams want to have is they want to have their core guys that they keep for a few years, but then they want to cycle out 5 or 6 guys so that they keep getting to roll the dice with new players, which look, Idaho had 6 guys leave the program, then 3 who exhausted their eligibility. So that's 9 spins. That's 9 spins, you might say, in the recruitment wheel to see if we can get some more guys who hit. That's just how recruitment's going to look, and especially in the Big Sky. So look, if Idaho becomes a place where Power 5 guys come and it works out, I'm cool with that. Before we've talked about Jones, we've talked about Terran Frank, we've talked about D. Moffitt, Andrew. We also have that means we've also talked about most of the posts we've had. Any guards other than D. Moffitt, Andrew, that when you look at the roster, you now think, okay, this is a guy who's going to be, we're going to see some solid box score numbers, or this is a candidate to replace some of Mikey Dixon's scoring.
I think I like Trey Smith a lot. He feels like the type of player you have to have on a winning team. He might not fill the box score necessarily like you just mentioned, but he's a great shooter. He's experienced. His numbers have gone up every single year. He started every game at San Jose State last year. So I think he'll be in the mix for sure. I'm excited about him a lot. I'd like to see if I do like Yusuf Salih too. He's gonna be in the mix. I know he's not a new player, obviously, but no, I'm excited about him. And there's a lot of competition there with Titus Year out. I don't think they're gonna redshirt him. At least they shouldn't. In this climate of transfer portal, I think he could land somewhere else. But going back really quick to what you said, Brian, was, in this climate, especially men's basketball, of people transferring so often, you're kind of getting a new chance to recruit every year. It's not like a 4-year string, essentially, of, hey, we had a bad class that's going to haunt us forever. So it's getting to the point where it's kind of an indictment on what's going on with the recruiting. Why aren't people coming here? What do you think? Who's your favorite guard?
So mine is Dom Ford right now, but just a little bit more on Trey Smith. He's a 3-and-D kind of player. So Andrew, you talked about the way you described, if Trey Smith actualizes, if he works out, he is going to be one of those guys who, look, Idaho has to get better defensively, and a lot of that's going to be schematic. That's another thing to hang your hat on, having Jeremy Harden over here, that maybe Jeremy Harden will help with defensive strategy, because Zach Kloss is certainly in over his head. But Trey Smith coming over from San Jose State. San Jose State they're 117 in the Mountain West, so like they were not good, but good teams need guys who don't need to shoot 1,000 times and play defense. That's the kind of player Trey Smith profiles at if he's going to see minutes at Idaho. Dom Ford, he's transferred from Southern Nevada. It's a community college. He's a guy who I think is pretty dang intriguing. He can certainly score the ball. He averaged, Dallas? He averaged 20 or 18 his sophomore year at South Nevada.
18 points a game in 22.9 minutes.
Yeah, 22.9 minutes. And Southern Nevada, I have now rotated between South and Southern. I don't care. They are coached by a guy who had to slow it down offense, which is kind of weird for junior college. But the reason I bring that up is dude is averaging 18 points in 22 minutes in the slow it down offense. That's a guy to pay attention to. He's a guy who can score from deep. He can score from mid range. He put the ball on the floor. Look, I'm not saying he's Mikey Dixon, but he's going to, if Dom Ford actualizes, he's going to replace a lot of the production that we got used to out of Mikey Dixon. Which, I think this team, the scoring distribution is going to be very different. It's not just going to be two guards, and then Tanner last year would put up his 10 or so, and that was the majority. And then after that, you were kind of curious game in, game out who is going to be scoring. If this team is better, it's probably going to be a little bit more evenly distributed amongst our posts and guards. And at the guard spot, Dallas, Dom Ford's a guy who I think certainly has a chance to put up some points in Moscow.
I would completely agree with that. His slash lines are insane. His freshman year, 475, 429, 796. And then last year, 404, 377, 784. For anybody that's not a crazy basketball nerd, the stats I just read off were field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw line. So he shot, in the last 2 years, he shot 43% and 37% from beyond the arc. So at bare minimum, he can shoot. And that's huge. But again, we're talking 18 points in 23 minutes, like in a slow down offense. This guy could be the next Mikey Dixon. He could come in and immediately just be the best scorer on the team and prove that he needs more minutes than anybody else. He could also come in and the shot might not work and he might be the 7th or 8th guy on the bench. But what we're talking about here is a bunch of guards that all seem to kind of work together. And you guys have actually made me excited for basketball this year, and I didn't think that was ever going to happen. So thank you both.
Well, the thing I'm going to jump in real quick and then throw it right back to you, Andrew, is look, we are the fairest show on the planet in that we react to information. Kloss gave us 2 cluster-fuckingly bad years, and we described them accurately. This recruiting class looks a lot more athletic than the last team that we had. So you can look at the roster that we have coming in, and look, the guys have to actually play in the games. We have to get actual production once the season starts. I don't feel like I'm talking myself into feeling like there should be some enthusiasm for this roster. Like, you just talked about with Dom Ford, real good shooting stats. We already talked about some of the other guys we're stoked about. This team, look, if this team's going to be good, we need to transcend some of Zach Kloss's limitations. If we're much more athletic, much more talented, that takes care of a lot of those. By the way, not every coach is going to be a genius about their scheme. Some coaches, like a John Calipari, not that that's Kloss, their strength is that they get real good athletes who get out and play. Southern Utah has done this in the Big Sky for a while, in that they recruit good athletes and then they roll the ball out and play offensively. That might be Idaho's route. Andrew, throwing it back to you. We just talked about Dom Ford for a while. Any other dudes on the list that you want us to spend a minute on, or hell,
you foreshadowed it perfectly. I wanted to talk a little bit. I don't know if he'll get a lot of minutes, but alluding to your point of getting winners, athletes, Mikhail Abdul-Hamid, his film was really impressive. I mean, he was on a state championship team, had D1 players as his teammates, and kind of gave me some – he's a little bit shorter, but gave me some Steven Madsen vibes. Not the best player on his high school team, won a state championship. We kind of stole him is what it feels like to me. But yeah, I mean, from his junior year to senior year, his shot looked a lot better. He looked like he got in better shape. But I'm excited about him. I think he's someone that if we can keep on campus for 2-3 years, could really be an all-conference type player. I really am excited about him. And yeah, obviously love the competition he's gone up against has been elite. So excited about him for sure. And there's the guard competition is going to be tough for playing time. There's going to be one or two guys that I like who probably won't get a lot of minutes.
I want to follow up on Mikhail Abdul-Hamid because I think Andrew's point about the other D1 players, I think we need to fully explain this for our listeners. So their top scorer, Rob Marten, has offers from St. Louis, Indiana State, and Louisiana Monroe. Their second leading scorer, Larry Hughes Jr., committed to St. Louis. Their third leading scorer is named John Bowl. He's a sophomore who already has an offer from Juwan Howard at Michigan, in addition to offers from Illinois and Butler and Missouri and Kansas State and a bunch of other places. And then their sixth leading scorer ended up committing to be an outside linebacker at Western Illinois. So there are 4 other guys with D1 scholarships at this school. So Abdul-Hamid averaged 7 points a game his senior season. It does really feel like the Steven Madison thing of there's an NBA caliber guy on Steven Madison's high school team. Of course, he's not going to be the guy blowing everybody away. We could have a steal here. He could also be redshirted and never see the floor here and transfer elsewhere. But I mean, this is again just throwing darts at things, hoping that this guy is going to be this incredible Hail Mary card because he played with so many other guys that he didn't need to score a bunch. He didn't need to do a lot other than play decent defense and make a couple shots when you've got 4 other guys committed as D1 college athletes somewhere.
Yeah, and they blew out a lot of teams. So take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah, so now this is the one part of his skill set that's kind of weird to understand. It says his high school shooting numbers are not fantastic, but if you look at his tape, he clearly is a shooter. He clearly understands himself to be a shooter. His AAU shooting numbers, they're good. It's like above 40% from 3. High school was different. So I don't know. To me, he's kind of like the mystery guy of, is it just hard being like the 6th option on a really good high school team to, get the kind of rhythm where he's not, we'll talk about Titus Year out in a second, but Titus Year out at Lapway, White Pine League in Idaho, he's getting as many touches as he could possibly want. Well, that's not Mikhail's background coming from the school he's at. So to me, he's kind of our biggest mystery guy. Second biggest mystery guy to me is Titus Year out. Player of the Year in Idaho. Looks like a strong athlete. The reason he's a mystery to me, it's simply that he played in a really small high school. And he did everything he could at that high school level to be considered a D1 athlete, obviously. Player of the Year in the state. Team won multiple state championships. But the jump from, what Idaho 1A Class B, whatever it was, to Big Sky is quite a jump. And also, I just don't think Zach Kloss playing, coaching for his life is going to dive headfirst into freshman point guard if he doesn't have to. But Andrew, I don't know. I don't know if you have a different feeling.
I generally feel the same way, especially because, a lot of the reason he's probably at Idaho is because it's Idaho. It's right down the road. Locals saw what he did. Not that this is the reason, but kind of replaces the old places Gabe Quinnett as the resident Palouse vandal. So yeah, I don't see him leaving necessarily after a year or two. So it's probably not, like you said, going to be advantageous for Claus to risk his last chance at a college coaching job on a freshman down the road from Idaho. It doesn't make sense. You're totally right. But if he shocks us and he's like Trayvon Allen, then put him in the lineup.
He has the athleticism to understand how he's in the discussion to play. But the freshman thing, Dallas, to me it makes him it's intriguing. But I'm not going to gamble and say like, hey, I 100% think Titus Yearout's going to start. I'd love if he earns a spot and he kicks ass, sweet. This far away, I just don't think the future of Zach Klaus's career is going to be dictated by freshman guard on this roster.
I would agree with that. Now, if you look back last year, Lapwai went undefeated, 27-0. They ended up beating Coeur d'Alene, Lewiston, I think Clarkston, and North Central from Spokane. So they beat a bunch of legitimately like 4A, 5A teams from Coeur d'Alene and Spokane. Like the kid has played up to much higher talent than what he gets in the White Pine League. However, like you said, true freshman coming in, I cannot imagine that things are going to get pinned on him. I mean, maybe he comes in and blows the doors off, but we just talked about D. Moffitt. We talked about Trey Smith. We talked about Dom Ford. Like there are 3 guards, and Trey Smith, who knows what we're going to get with him, but Devontae Moffitt and Dom Ford both fill up the stat sheet the same way that Titus Yearout has, and they did it at different levels. They've done it at levels much closer to this level of the game. So I would love for Yearout to come in here and just blow everyone away and show that it doesn't matter that he comes from Lapwai, that he is one of the best players around, and he absolutely deserves to be a starting guard in the Big Sky. I don't know if we're going to see that his freshman year. That's not necessarily
I think the only way we do see it is, I mean, kind of like Connor Hill coming from Post Falls High School. He was supposed to redshirt his freshman year, came in, lit it up in the practice gym, got minutes his freshman year, and then started actually the second half of his freshman year and then the last 3 years. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's have an open mind about it, but yeah, he definitely has to come prove himself. I agree.
The other reason why I'm just going to be cautious, and I'm really hoping this doesn't sound like shade. I'm happy with this signing. I like it. I like that we got Idaho's Player of the Year. I think it's a good story, and he has the athleticism to understand why he was signed in the first place. That's the big one to me. The athleticism is there. It's just hard to interpret the lower high school level jump. I mean, look, Ethan Kilgore averaged like 26 points a game in Missouri, and then look, I mean, Ethan Kilgore, we're glad he was here, but clearly there's a reason he transferred out and went D2. So not saying that's going to be Yearout's situation because it's different player, different skill set, different athleticism. But right now, that's why he's kind of an intriguing story to me, is to see how he fits in, because he does have, like Dallas said, it's just there's nothing he can do about it. This is the background Titus Yearout has. He's done what he needs to be a guy that we're interested in. But hey, it's a big step. Last couple guys to go over. Nigel Burris, he's coming to Idaho. He's our third post, and look, we now have 3 posts who look pretty athletic right now, where they're much better overall run jump athletes than our collections of posts was last season. Nigel Burris played prep school. He, based on his tape, he's a back to the basket guy. Or also mostly lots of his points are coming in real close. Has a little bit of a shot, but he might be more like Isaac Jones, that range is more like 15-ish feet. He's not Taryn Frank, who's going to be hitting threes. But at worst case scenario, Burris is a third post who has the athleticism to justify playing in the Big Sky. We didn't have 3 posts who did that last season, Andrew. So I can't extrapolate too much more from Burris just because I don't know enough about prep school basketball, but I'm happy that we got another athlete. And I've just unrelated. I've heard people tell me that Burris and his athleticism with his 6'7" size, there's reason to look at him as probably a first post off the bench at this point.
Yeah, and he handles the ball pretty well for his size. So again, it fits that mold of taller, faster, skinnier guys who can run the floor, jump, dribble, pass, kind of do everything, kind of like what we're seeing in the NBA. So I mentioned it before, but I'm happy to see the team going in this direction. But yeah, his athleticism definitely does blow you away. And it'll be interesting to see if he gets into the rotation at all, but I think it's more likely comparison. I think it's more likely that he plays than year out if we're just comparing true freshman to true freshman, just because of his athleticism alone. But he might be a guy who can, bring the ball down the floor and kind of switch up the look that the defense gets.
Well, and I think it's worth noting that Nigel Burris ended up turning down Cal Poly, Montana, San Jose State, and UC Santa Barbara to come here. So he had a handful of other Division I offers and came here. This wasn't like some lifeline that he received and it was his only D1 offer. Like, he turned down other Big Sky schools to come here. So there are at least other schools in this league that think the same of him, that he deserved a roster spot on squads that are. I mean, Montana's a better squad than us. I hate saying it out loud, but Montana thought he was good enough to play there. If Montana thinks he can play there, I'm sure he's going to be able to come off the bench for us and play well.
Last guy we have to talk about in the new recruiting class is Tyler Halligan. And full disclosure, I know nothing about him other than that Halligan is a walk-on. Glad to have him on the team, but of course, like we talked about earlier, a walk-on at this point, just don't expect that Klaus is going to have his future dictated off the results of a walk-on on the team. But hey, Halligan's the last vandal we have. Kind of to close out the basketball.
I do have one note on Tyler Halligan. His mom is Creighton University's all-time leading scorer in women's basketball. So the genes are good. We don't know a whole lot about him. I can pull up his averages through his high school career. Didn't really find a whole lot of tape on him. Obviously, Martin's got his hype video up, but it's in his genes. Basketball is in his family. So at the bare minimum, he's going to be a brilliant kid to have on the bench.
Well, first question, of course, is does his mom have eligibility left? But look, we've talked about the class. One of the lingering questions that we can't answer today, Andrew, is look, if Idaho's going to be good, or if Idaho's going to be okay, we cannot be catastrophically awful on defense. We know nothing about that shift yet based off the guys we signed because we have to see them play as a unit. Plus, we have to see if Klaus has improved his defensive strategies and having actual help defense, which we virtually did not have for a lot of last season.
Yeah.
But on paper, that's all we can talk about. If Idaho's going to be okay, we have to be able to transcend the current limitations. One of the things that can do that is help teams do that is athleticism. And Andrew, I think the jury's in. This is certainly a more athletic group of guys than last season.
Yeah, this is you could see the improvement from COVID year to last year. You can even see it in the recruits this year. So it does more look. That comment by Colin Hughes was perfect. It looks like these guys are supposed to be playing D1 basketball. They have played, they have experience, and it looks like the type of team that Claus put together knowing he's got one more year left. And, I mean, even if he didn't have one more year left, the fan base is fed up enough that it might as well feel like he has one more year left. So I'm excited about where the team's going to go. I don't know if I see contention on this team as far as, I think they could get to 500. Anything above that would be a bonus, but I'd just love to win a Big Sky tournament game again. It's been such a long time.
Well, yeah, and we're in Boise. Idaho should have de facto home court advantage in the Big Sky tournament. And Idaho has exactly 0 wins in the Big Sky tournament since it's been held in Boise.
Yeah.
Dallas, throwing it back to you. Look, again, keep on the same train that Andrew was talking about. If this is going to change, look, we have athleticism that's changed. What else in your mind has to do you need to be seeing out of this group of guys to keep the buy-in? Because look, I mean, we're not gonna be able to talk about this team without addressing the elephant in the room every single time we talk, like Andrew did, like I've done 100 times. The fan base does not have faith in Zach Kloss because until proven otherwise, we should not. But again, this group of guys needs to be understood independently of the last group. The other guys did not commit the sins of the last roster. The other guy, the new roster has not shown like a complete inability to play defense. Has not shown like a inefficient but like okay offensive volume because of possessions. These guys need to have their own. These guys need to be understood as their own unit. How do you square that circle right now?
I don't know if you can, is the problem. I look at this roster that's been put together, and I have some question marks about it. But for the most part, I look at the roster and I think this is a team that honestly should win more games than they lose in the Big Sky Conference. Maybe contend for top 4, top 5 in the conference, and every night should be competing for victories. The problem is none of us believe in the head coach, so it's tough for me to say, yeah, this team's going to be a whole lot better than last year because we just don't know. We don't know if Kloss is going to come out there and roll out the Dean Smith 4 corners offense. Like last year's team played so much differently than the team before that. I can't tell you all of these guys are going to be used in the correct way. I just can't. I wish I could, but I truly can't. And so it's very hard for me to grasp. This is a brand new roster, a bunch of kids that deserve the benefit of the doubt and should not be hearing any negative things from us about how terrible the program's been. These are all new kids that have nothing to do with it. However, history tells me this is probably still not going to be enough to turn this thing around.
So I'm going to continue to say this is an order of operations issue. You need to accept up front that you do not yet you don't buy into Zach Kloss yet. If up front you do not buy into Zach Kloss, what has to be there? Well, we need a more athletic team. Hey, we got it. We need a team that looks more talented certainly on the offensive end, because we're not, until we see otherwise, Idaho's not going to win games by shutting teams down. We're going to have to put points up. Well, look, we have guys who can look like they can get out and run. The question for me is going to always be right now, can we play enough defense? And if Idaho's good, this might be kind of a weird way to understand it, Andrew. Rashad Smith was a solid Big Sky player last year. He was not an all-league Big Sky player. If we've recruited enough guys that Rashad Smith comes off the bench, you should be stoked for this upcoming team.
If that's the barometer, then maybe I'm not as excited as I thought, because I do think he's going to be a big part of the team. I liked his game. I liked his intensity. You could see how he could affect his teammates' mood throughout the game. So, there's a lot of guards. Like I said, there's going to be a couple of guys that I like that don't make it on. And, I think Rashad Smith, from what I know, he sort of had to stay, complicated with his eligibility. He didn't have a lot of options, so who knows how he is feeling about his situation. But is just talking about his game alone, if you were to make me give you a starting lineup, he'd be in it for me today. Just to go back a little bit about what you said, is that I'm excited to watch this year a little bit more than previous years. Like I said, there's a little bit of sense of urgency because these guys are literally fighting for their careers. So, and you only get so many chances to build a new arena and capitalize on that honeymoon phase, which they obviously, with COVID, to be fair, didn't do a great job of. But, that arena, it feels like, respect to everyone at the university, feels like it's going to waste. They use it for a couple of recruiting visits, concerts of people you've never heard of. I defended that thing vigorously for years, and I kind of regret it now because I'm not seeing the objective. Was it to win basketball games? Was it to make campus look better? Was it to boost the student experience? Because none of that's happened yet. That's just kind of my own personal beef with it. But yeah, someone who every time a faculty staff member would say, how are anyone wasting money on a basketball arena? I was the first one to defend it. But they've got to have some sense of urgency. It's almost not right to do that at a university where everything's being cut, to not put your heart and soul into basketball, because that's what you told everyone. You wanted to be the Gonzaga of the Big Sky,
and compete with Boise State again on that level. So that's just my little frustration as we kind of wind down. But that's the reason why I feel like something's got to happen soon as far as winning games.
Well, look, I think you're 100% right. And like Andrew, you just echoed what I think everyone here is, not just here. I mean, Vandal fans, basketball fans, are feeling is when do we get out of the dumpster and be excited about this? When does the arena become the asset we've been told it is going to be? Because you're right. Like I've talked about this on the show too. The arena is a draw for 2 years. We're already through one of them. Now it could be a draw for recruits for a long time, but in terms of like bringing eyes to the program, it's not going to be something people are talking about in 2 seasons. Like Portland State has a new gym. People talk about it for a year or so. Now it's okay. What in God's name is going on in Portland? For basketball, Idaho's the same way. I just think when I referenced Rashad Smith, does not put down Rashad Smith because everything you said about him is correct. He's a good player. If Idaho is going to be solid, we have to be in a position where a guy who is a good player on our team last year, our not good team last year, needs to not be the focal point of our offense, needs to not be a guy who fans are expecting this is where we get 20 points a game. We already talked about in football, we got a quarterback transfer. The whole point of getting quarterback transfers is to compete to outplay the recruits you already have. Same thing with basketball. It's just look, we're not going to resolve this on this show, man. It's just the dichotomy is going to continue until Zach Kloss proves that Terry Golick was right in keeping him. But I'm always going to understand that part up front and then shift to, if we're going to be okay, what's that got to look like? We have some athletes on this team. We have some guys who I'm surprised that we landed. Fingers crossed now between today and September, early October, to see how this gels, Dallas.
I mean, I just did a quick scroll through this roster and just kind of clicked through everybody, and it is baffling to me. I was not thrilled that we lost almost all of last year's team. I was kind of stunned by it, and I still kind of am because, again, most of those were Kloss's guys. So the vibe we got from the athletic department was Kloss needs more time to recruit and build a program. Well, all the guys that left were pretty much his guys anyway. So what is this? He needs more time because those guys weren't good enough? Is it he didn't do a good job before and now he's going to do a good job? Like it felt so just disjointed. It made no sense. But now you look at this roster and it's like, wow, okay, there are some dudes here. Like this should be a good team, or at least a better than mediocre team, which we haven't had in God knows how long. But man, until we have the head coach thing figured out, this is all just speculation. This team could come out here and look just as bad as the team 2 years ago. They're not going to look as bad as the team 2 years ago. I regret saying that. There's no way they're going to look that bad. But we could see the same problems of, okay, well, what are they doing on the defensive end? There is the game plan for 3 guards to stand there with a hand in the air 3 feet away from their guy and hope that somehow they're going to block the shot, because that's what it looks like 3/4 of the game, and everybody's standing around not doing anything. I can't make this coexist in my brain that I'm so disinterested in the head coach and the performance he's had so far, while also trying to reason with, this is a good roster. I would be thrilled to have this roster. If you didn't know who the coach was and you just saw this roster and you thought this is our team, like, okay, this is a good Big Sky team. This is going to be competitive. We have no idea.
Yeah, that's the issue. You hit on it. We're going to eventually stop saying it because we're kind of in the spin cycle here of every time we talk about basketball, it's a combination of people don't accept Kloss as a legitimate coach. Most people weren't happy with the appointment, and he certainly hasn't changed hearts and minds since. But we look on paper like we have more talent this year. More talent should win us more games. We also might find out next season if these guys actualize the way some of them look like they could. Look, our reaction might be, look, last season, we were still experiencing basketball Stockholm syndrome because of the year before, where seeing the presence of a handful of D1 guys made us excited. Well, if we've got an entire team of D1 guys, that to me is justification for wanting to pay more attention to this team, wanting to buy tickets to go to games, wanting, like Andrew said, ICCU to become like an event. To me, there's now justification there to explain why I might go buy tickets, but I'm like everyone else on the show already. There's a lot of apprehension about the guy up top. It's not about the roster right now. It's about the guy calling plays on the sideline. Fingers crossed to Andrew for one last take. Fingers crossed that we have the talent to transcend the limitations, because that's going to be it'll be a player-led team to me that wins. It's not going to be that or Harden has a freakish impact that is hard to explain from this far away.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, when you get 10 new players, 10 new personalities from 10 different areas, a little bit is luck, that they get along, that they're similar personalities. Because, I mean, it doesn't feel like it's been that way the last 2 years, even though last year's team was a little bit more talented. And as you said, Brian, you could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel on certain moments of games. But, yeah, I overall, it's a do or die year, and either way, that's going to be exciting to watch. Whether we're 2-14 or 14-2 going into the end of the season, at least we're going to know what happens next year. It's pretty self-explanatory. If there's a tough year, we're going to have a new staff. If he kills it, then great. He's going to get an extension. Maybe it just didn't work out through COVID, and we were wrong the whole time. So that's me being really optimistic as a Vandal fan, and I hope that's the case. But to be fair, it is trending. From 2020, it is trending a little bit, and hopefully we get some wins, get some people in there, and university does a good job of creating some excitement on campus.
Yeah, Andrew, we're gonna call that good. We're not gonna get answers until the season starts for sure. The thing I'm going to implore people, and I might sound like Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows for a second. I'm not. You guys who've listened to the show understand that's not who I am. I really think you got to give the new roster a shot before we get too frustrated about the team. Plus, now we get the actual excitement. We have football season coming up, guys. This is going to cook in the oven for a while, and then we'll get to see the team actually go out there. From this point on, we're probably not going to talk about basketball for a while, and we'll let everyone know a recording schedule later on, because full disclosure, we don't have one off the top of our heads right now. It's not going to be
my last point, since this is my first time here. I'm not a fire the coach guy all the time. I was in the minority. As happy I am with the new staff, I was pro Paul Petrino. So not a heat of the moment type person, and I'm trying not to get that way with basketball. But I think we all know this is the last year. So that's the last thing I'll say.
And Andrew, really bringing back some
bad memories.
Man, yeah. Oh man.
Because I was the only one. Yeah, I know.
You know what, Andrew? That's okay. Like, people get to feel different about it.
And I respect it.
I understood or respect everyone's opinion about it. I just want the listeners to know that I'm not Mr. Fire every coach guy.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. So look, we're gonna close the show down. Marten, you've been in the shadows. Anything you want to throw in before we call it a night?
Nope. It's nice to hear you guys be the potential positive power coming for the men's basketball team.
I don't even feel positive, man. It's just like, look, the guys look good. The new guys look good. We got to give them a shot. I understand the apprehension. I have the same apprehension, but I also have way more excitement today than I did about the team a month ago.
I mean, if we start 2-0, imagine how excited we're going to be. We're going to start planning our trip to Boise. So, I mean, yeah, I think we've teed it up pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, listeners, we will give you a recording schedule later. We do not have it today. We typically ask a reversal question, but Andrew, we'll just do that next time you're on the show, man. We got to call it a night. We're an hour 15 minutes.
Thank you for having me.
Andrew Lamy, live from you in Montana yet?
I'm in Montana.
Live from Anaconda. Otherwise, everyone, thanks for coming. Sponsored by Hughes River. Martin's going to cut me off whenever.
Right, hold on. Martin, you can't cut this yet because Patty is being kind of coy in the chat. Who would like to announce it live on Tubs at the Club? Who's making the announcement here? Because Patty's not going to do it.
I feel like Dallas, you should do it.
All right, I'm going to do it. Tubs at the Club family. Hashtag only Tubs crew. We did it. Patrick Frerks committed to the University of Idaho and said, fuck them Eags, fuck Cheney. That place is hell. That turf is disgusting. Vandals forever. That's what he said. I have it in writing. I'll go pull the letter right here. Patrick Frerks is a Vandal. He said no more Eags.
Yeah, Patrick's a Vandal. We have the commitment, College of Natural Resources, I believe, Science and Natural Resources. But reason I bring this up, hey, University of Idaho Recruitment Office, you're welcome for the effort on Tubs the Club. Patrick, stoked to have you as a Vandal. I'm done talking. Martin, we're going to play us out with whatever the hell you want. Go Vandals.
Go Vandals. Thanks.
So raise your glass and have a drink with me. Here's to the Vandals in the crowd. All just out there living the dream. Right up one and only Moscow drink.